Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to On the Spot with David Rodgers.
Don't look like he's here tonight.
David Rodgers is not here. He's actually DJing a wedding this evening. And we are the live Facebook interactive show where you, the viewers, have the total input on topic discussion regards to any subject that includes
commenting, talking, or debating not just with us, your hosts, but with each other, the viewers. You control and run this show. We are just the rudder that steers this big old vessel, sometimes straight into a brick wall. This is the show that is wide open with no limits. As we bring it to you first, we discuss news, politics, and business, sports, and other things pertinent to our community, including Stark, Lake Butler, Keystone Heights, Waldo, Melrose, Brooker, Middleburg, Lake City, and where?
Lulu.
Sometimes. And the entire region area. All right, we need to mention a few of our sponsors tonight.
Sure. Williams Jewelry, Harry Business,
On the Spot Lawn Maintenance.
That's right.
Mike Qualls.
Mike Qualls.
Yes, he can add the jingle.
Suster and Sabin Law Firm.
Yeah, that's right.
Dexter's Dental on Dunn's Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
And tonight we're actually going to do something really special. You know, we've got a lot of candidates that's running for office. We have some congressional candidates here tonight. We're going to get them on the show and let them speak so you can kind of get a basis of where they're coming from and what they're for and against. And I think our first person up is Miss Kat Kermack. And so I'm actually going to walk inside and grab her. It's a little chilly out here, as you can see. Me and Byron are all bundled up, and Dave, he's holding the camera and trying to be as still as possible. So let me go grab her.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we're going to have some congressional candidates on the show. Very important for you to go vote in the primaries. Very, very important. Make sure you know who and what they stand for, whether you're a Democrat or a Republican. Make sure you understand who and what you're voting for all, basically the Senate and for president. There are still people out there that are running. I was informed today, I made a mistake on the last shows, that are still running against President Trump for the Republican primary. So Republicans still need to go vote for who you think should be the right candidate for the president. We're coming to you live tonight from the Bradford County Fair. We are in front of the Sheriff's Mobile Command Center, and we have a bunch of people here tonight.
Oh, it's packed.
Yes, it is. All the rides are packed. There is a bunch of people at all of the booths eating food. Come on out if you want to have a good time, see people that you haven't seen in a while. You will definitely have a very, very good time. I wanted to slip a couple of things in before we started. David Rodgers is normally the one that does the sports, but I wanted to mention a couple of things. Florida State clinched the ACC in college basketball today. They ended up just beating Boston College, and the Florida Gators, I believe, lost to Kentucky, didn't they?
Yes, they did. They were up like, I think, 18, 19 points, and they came back on them.
Kentucky came back on them, unfortunately. So we had some pretty good sports going on today, and it's worth watching. I didn't get to watch any of the women's basketball or get any of those stats together for them, but and it's getting closer and closer to March Madness. I wanted to remind everybody that we're having brackets for March Madness, and they're $10 a piece. And what we'll do is we're hoping to get somewhere around 100 brackets, 200 brackets, something like that. And what we're going to do is we're going to split the actual monies that we get for these brackets between the winner and the food bank here.
That's correct.
In Bradford County. So, Mitchell, do you have anything local that you wanted to talk about tonight?
No, I see that Miss Wells is standing right here, so we'll go ahead and bring her on.
Sure.
gentlemen.
How are you, Miss Wells?
Doing well.
It's a little chilly.
It's just a little chilly. I didn't know we'd be outside doing this. Hi, I'm Amy. What's your name?
Byron Bagwell.
Hey,
Nice to
Byron
meet you.
Bagwell.
Mitchell Gunner.
Mitchell Gunner. Getting in closer.
Yeah, we're going to move in a little
We're
bit
getting
closer.
warmer, guys.
That's it.
The only thing we didn't bring was a heater.
No, yeah.
We need that. We
out
need
here,
that.
we definitely need that.
It's a little cold for Florida.
Yes, it is. And the wind's not helping much tonight
No,
either.
it's not.
It's
But we got a
pretty-
big turnout here. It's great. It's packed.
Yes, it is.
Rides going, food's going. It's awesome.
Well, we wanted to ask you.
Sure.
You know, you're running for Ted Yoho's seat,
Correct.
and we would like you to tell the public the reason why that you're running for that particular seat.
That's a good question. I'm trying to see if I can tell where exactly I'm looking, because right there in the middle. So a lot of people don't know a whole lot about me. I've not really spent a whole lot of time in politics. What actually happened is it was February the 21st, 2017. An issue for Small Business Administration came up in Tallahassee. When this issue came up, it was a funding issue, and I sit on a board, and they asked me to go share with them the things that we were doing related to this board. And I went to Tallahassee and began to share my perspective as a local small business owner, and got into an interesting fight. Common sense was kind of thrown out of the process, and that become my introduction into politics.
I imagine that in politics.
I didn't know, because my husband and I we own an HR firm, and we put hundreds of people to work. And we knew the challenges we had coming through the 2008 crash.
Right.
I mean, we lived it. When you're in the jobs business and people are laying off, it's important stuff. And so we knew if we ever came through that and our business survived, we wanted to make sure that we mentored and shared with people so they would be prepared for that always. And when a funding issue come to kill that, I had to be the person to stand up, because I think it takes someone with courage and common sense to start championing good ideas or best practice. So, short story, I go to Tallahassee February 21st, 2017. I'm on my way home from that issue in Tallahassee, and well, it was at the time Governor Rick Scott was calling my phone within 15 minutes of being in my car headed home. And he said, "I want to meet you." And he said, "I love what you had to say, and I think it's important that the world hears it. Can I come to your office and meet you and learn a little bit more about you?" And I said, "Yes, sir." 1 week later, he was in my office, and we had a real frank conversation about the importance of what's best for Americans and what's best for our economy and what's best for jobs. He asked me at the end of that if I'd like to meet a friend of his and to share my story, and I said yes. And within 2 weeks, I was sitting down with a one-on-one with Vice President Mike Pence. And Mike Pence and I had a conversation in Jacksonville. We talked about some of the challenges. We talked about healthcare. We talked about small business. We talked women and children in poverty and education. And I guess they liked what I had to say because they invited me to the White House. And so I went to the White House. A few weeks later, I'm sitting in the Thomas Roosevelt room, and I have Mike Pence to my right and President Trump across from me. And at that day and time, they decided they would like me to start some committee work. And the committee work was where you take common sense, practical approaches, and they share with you the challenges and ideas and ask you how you would solve it. And so that led into my first real experience by June of 2017 of politics. And I gotta tell you, I've learned a lot since then. I've learned the good, I've learned the bad, I've learned the players.
There's a bunch of those.
And there's a bunch of those. And you know, I think we're at a tipping point in our country. And I think people want to do what's best for people and stop playing the games. I think people are frustrated, and I think it's time that we elect people with a lot of experience. And this is not about power or title. This is about solving problems,
Right.
giving people jobs, teaching people what you've learned so they don't have to learn the tough lessons. And so I filed in April of this year, or actually in 19, and I'm learning as I go. And I just want everybody to know that what I'm doing has nothing to do with about me. It's about what I've learned. Before I retire one day, I want to share it with the world. and I want to help solve some of these issues. And I know I can help solve these issues. I've already been working on some of these issues.
Right.
And I've met the people of Bradford County. I've come over, I think this is my 3rd or 4th visit, working the market. And there's some really great people. And this is a rural area, and I grew up in a rural area. And so I think that I've enjoyed connecting with these people, and I see their pains, their challenges. And, you know, this is about loving what you do and wanting to make a difference before you're no longer here.
That's awesome.
Well, I'm looking at
Awesome.
that book, you know, Thomas Paine right there, and it says common sense. And that's one thing I think that we've gotten away from a lot.
Yeah, we have. Yes,
So-
we have.
We need to bring
Yes,
that
we have.
common sense back
Yeah.
into government.
Yeah.
You end up, when you end up there, what you run into is you run into money, power. And common sense gets flushed out the window when that
Sure.
happens sometimes. And you need people up there
Yes, yes.
to fight that know what they're doing with things like you just described.
Sure, sure.
To get things done for the people.
Well, I was fortunate when I first went. I actually didn't spend any time on Capitol Hill. I was lucky enough that I got to be over in the Eisenhower building where the real work, a lot of it gets done from the presidential side. And I got to meet some wonderful people and people that are just trying to accomplish the things that they want to get accomplished to make it a better tomorrow. But you know what I learned? I've learned, and not just in politics, but sitting on some boards that I've been appointed to, probably the biggest lesson that I've taken away is really 3 things, and I tell this to people every day. People in certain situations in leadership, they got a choice. There's 3 choices. When you're appointed or you're sitting in a position of making decisions that affect others, you can go along to get along, like, what are we going to eat? You know, I like that too, I like that too. Or you go, I'll just be quiet, whatever everybody wants to do, I'll eat what they decide. Or you go, whoa, 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 I think I would like to have this. Courage is what is missing in most politics. People don't want to stand up and say, that is the absolute dumbest idea I've ever heard. And you know what? I think we could do it better or different. And let me just tell you, I have had to exercise courage for the last 3 years, more than I ever imagined in my life. And I never realized the games that get played and the positioning that happens. And it honestly disgusts me. It really does. It disgusts me. But what I've learned is I tell people, you're never going to wonder where I sit on an issue. I'm not going to talk out of both sides of my mouth. I'm going to tell you, look, I looked at it. This is what's practical. You know, you might not agree with what I got to say, but I think if we do this and we try this, we can solve some of these issues. So I have taken the path of courage, and I will continue to take the path of courage. And let me tell you, it's the path that's the most difficult. It is absolutely most difficult, but I will continue to walk that path.
Because you really are fighting an ingrained system where there are people that have been there forever, that have created networks that get what they want done, and it's not always the best for the people.
That's correct.
No.
And I wanted to add one more thing. That courage she's talking about is a term that people used to call leadership. And that's really the honest truth.
It is. It absolutely.
If you look at what a real leader does, a real leader doesn't always do what's popular, and they sometimes have to swim upstream to get done what needs
You're
to be done.
absolutely right.
And we need a lot more leaders and a lot less followers in D.C.
Yeah, I agree. And I know that with this race, regardless of what happens, I will continue to do what I've got to do. I will continue to challenge the status quo. I will continue to call things out that need to be called out. And I will continue to stand up for the people that don't know that the decisions that are being made and how they affect them every day. Because once you see behind the curtain, you can't ever unlook. You know, and I've seen behind the curtain, and I'm just the little bitty 4'11" girl that grew up in school and had to fight against the biggest ones, and I guess I'm having to do that now. You know,
there's kind of a question I got.
Sure.
We know Amy Pope,
Yeah.
but we don't really know Amy.
Sure.
Can you
Like
help us
a
out?
mother of 4? Is that what you're looking for?
Tell us who you are.
So, who I am. I grew up in a rural area outside of Charlotte, North Carolina called Monroe. My dad was a director of public works and was actively involved in the community. They were my Sunday school teachers. They were in the choir, and they made us sit on the front row and shut up. You know, we learned what respect and leadership looked like from my father. He ingrained in us to always do the right thing regardless. Fast forward, I spent a portion of my career in healthcare. I did healthcare consulting as a nurse. I traveled all over the United States. Saw a lot of hospitals, a lot of broken hospital systems. It's actually why I decided to leave, as I saw corruption in the system, and I went against the status quo and decided that I needed to start my own firm. And 2006, we began to make those decisions. In 2007, we started it. Had no idea 2008 the market was going to crash. Had to literally fight through for everybody's jobs every day. 4 kids. We owned a couple of businesses. I'm the past chairman of the Chamber of Commerce, and now I'm the chairman of the foundation of the Chamber of Commerce. So I get the lovely ability to give away money to children in education for scholarships and work on projects. We're not doing that. Governor Rick Scott, now Senator Rick Scott, appointed me over the Development Authority. So I get to look at growth and development and the challenges. And I ask him, like, why in the world would he put me over development? Because I've never been involved in it. He said, because we need people like you here. We need people that have that common sense, practical approach that's going to stand up. And obviously we're not doing that. I just came back February the 11th through the 15th from the White House, working on policy briefings of the administration and the plans for 2020. But I'm a grateful person for the life that I've had to work hard to have, but more importantly, I think I'm in that phase of giving back. And not just giving back to the communities, but I want my kids to learn what that looks like. And so they can mimic those behaviors and begin to carry that torch later on in life. At some point in time, I'm almost 50, some point in time I guess I'll retire one day, but I don't think it's going to be a while. I think I found a new fire. And, you know, just people around need to know that if they ever have a question, if they ever have a problem, I'll at least be a resource. There's not a phone call I won't take and not a challenge that I won't try to help somebody through, because that's what leadership looks like. It's leading by example and helping those to get on the path that they need and provide resources. So that's kind of who I am.
Thank you. Thank you.
I live over in Clay County, but actually I'm on the bottom side. I'm over in Green Cove Springs. So another rural area. I love being in the country.
You live pretty close to me. I live in Houston Heights.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Good.
I'm from here, but
yeah, it's this area is great.
It is.
My parents finally, after visiting a few times, have decided to move to Green Cove as well. Yep. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, oh my God, they're coming.
I can actually pick up a rock in my yard and throw it into Clay County.
Wow.
That's something, huh?
Well,
That's something. That's something.
We're glad to have you on.
well, I got another question I wanted to ask. There's a lot of issues out there that you're going to be facing. Is there one issue that really stands out among the rest?
A couple of them. Term limits is one. I champion term limits. I was chairman of the Charter Review Commission in Clay County and realized, until I actually tried to get term limits on the ballots, how unpopular that was in particular segments. But we need term limits, let's be honest. Drain the swamp. That's number one. I'd like to see us, and I know we can tackle health care. We've looked at it forwards and backwards and backwards and forwards. We just came back, Jennifer and I, working on some of that. And we've got an issue in our education. We spent $1 trillion and we still don't have the workforce gap fixed. We must begin to tackle, because you know what people have done? They've taken children and replaced them for dollars. They've made this an adult business, not a child business. And no child can be treated the same. And so what we've got to do is we've got to give back the power to the teachers and put some practical solutions in place and let them be able to control their classroom.
Right.
This has gotten ridiculous.
And I think a lot of that has to deal with, you know, it's more that this is on pretty much on a state level instead of a federal level. But I think we test our kids way too much. It's test. And we don't get into what real education and learning is.
this is going to be an unpopular position amongst teachers. I was a teacher myself at one point. Instead of using these tests as basically a system of you pass, you fail, like Florida still does, and did with the I can't even remember, FCAT. I really think that we need to go back to a way that we used to do things with the older tests and use them as a system of tracking. And that word is very unpopular with teachers.
Sure.
Because what happens is you start splitting up the demographics.
Yes.
And then people start screaming, it's unfair, it's unfair, it's unfair. The problem becomes if you don't know what a student is lacking in.
Yes.
How do you fix the problem with it being lacking?
I agree.
And sometimes, like you said, those unpopular stances are hard to get.
Well, we have spent a lot of time one-on-one with groups of teachers and students in small settings, in homes or particular businesses to say, look, we know that politics gets in the way for you to do your job, and we know it takes your voice away. So in order to give you a voice, I need to know what is right, what is wrong, what is broken, what can we do. And I'll tell you, control of those classrooms is a big issue for them. When they've got children they can't transfer because it's not working, but they're only limited to so many transfers. I mean, let's be honest, just because it's not working one place doesn't mean it won't work somewhere else. I can't promise it, but we can at least look at it. But I will tell you, teachers are tired of over-testing. They have told us when we met the last group before January started, we sat down and they said, okay, so when we come back from school break, all we're going to be doing is prepping for testing, and that's all we're ever going to do. Teachers have learned that.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah,
Teaching to the test.
Teaching to the test, and they are graded on that, and they are criticized for that.
When you know what, they could be graded on how many kids go from one grade to the next grade. And they could use that as a basis instead of using all these tests, and just use regular education.
Well, here's what I tell them: those children, you guys have to understand, when these kids come out of school, they come to people like us for the job, and we process tons and tons of people per year. We know how ill prepared they are, whether it be resume writing or interacting or critical thinking skills, because you can't test them in life for just the book theory. You have to teach them, how do you overcome obstacles when they're in the way? How do you think through this problem? How do you have better decision-making skills? I think we need to get back and focus on some of this vocational stuff. I think we need to let teachers begin to love the art of teaching again and control their classrooms, but identify what kids really need. Because I don't know that we know that anymore.
Well, we don't. I don't think we do, because we're too busy concentrating on the test.
On the test.
Instead of talking to the kids and relating to them.
And that goes back to what I was talking about the actual tracking children through the test instead of relying on it as a benchmark. What you can do is you can figure out Johnny doesn't understand math at the same grade level as everybody else in the classes, and you can get him into another class to where you can get him up to speed, and that's the way it used to work. But we stopped that for some reason, and there were multiple reasons that we stopped it. But I really believe it needs to go back to being that way, and then we need to find good teachers that can go into those positions and actually teach those classes, because what you're seeing is exactly what you're talking about. These children don't have life skills when they graduate high school like they used to. And some of it is the education they're getting, and some of it is the education to the test. Because if you don't know how to talk to people when you come out of high school, They don't know how to talk to people. The other thing, there's some other things. Resume writing skills. Does anybody know how to balance a checkbook anymore?
Working with their hands, or just being a kid.
That's
just being a kid.
Just being a kid. Well, if you guys spend any time in education, I've had the luxury of working with some of the best and brightest in that space. And we've been looking at models that other places all over the world do, and some of the benchmarks for that, and the amount of application and hours and how they do it, like for Norway, Japan, all those kind of places. Right. And we're way behind the 8 ball, guys.
Right. And I think a lot of the reason why we haven't done that in the past is because we feel like we're too proud of ourselves to go out there and get visions from other places. And I think that's on all levels. I think it's on the city councilman's level. It's on the county commissioner's level. It's everywhere like that, because everyone's too proud of themselves to go look for other things that can work.
Well, I don't think we should ever be too proud to try to make our kids better. You know what I
agree.
mean? I mean, we have a responsibility for the generations to come. And I think we're, like I keep saying, I think we're at that tipping point, and we're going to have to be we're going to have to go along to get along, we're going to have to, be silent, or we're going to have to fight. And I think we're at that point in our country.
We're going to have to fight.
We're going to have to fight.
And I'm going to tell you, because it's ingrained throughout the college systems too, that this is the way you do that, and it's really pretty horrible.
Yeah. Well, I've spending time with some of the students. I've also learned that some of them want the change as much as we want the change, and the teachers want the change. We just haven't done. We've not. And say if it's politics or theory or whatever, we've not been doing what we need to do for these kids and for families as well. So anytime I can ever help you guys make some connections, answer some questions, or point you in the right direction, I want you guys to always feel free, no matter what happens, to reach out.
Well, I appreciate that.
I really appreciate that.
Thank you. Sorry we're so cold.
Take care of yourself.
We're going to be back to the fair.
It's going to be freezing again.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for coming out and speaking with us. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Good evening.
You too.
Speak up.
You guys speak up a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. Come on in,
Introduce.
Bill.
Introduce.
What's that?
Next, Byron Bagwell. Nice to meet you, sir.
Nice to meet you. Mr. Bennett. Hello, sir. Doing good.
All right.
Well, we're going to let you tell everyone who you are and the reason why you're running for Ted Yoho's seat, and a little bit about yourself.
Okay. All right. Hello, Bradford County, for everybody out there. My name is Bill Engelbrecht, and I'm running for Congress, Ted Yoho's seat. Reason I got into this race is because healthcare reform. I've been doing healthcare for 32 years, and I've experienced where the elderly had to make a decision between eating or prescription drugs. Also, when my brother got back from war, he had to drive from Daytona to Gainesville to go to the VA hospital. And there's no reason for a veteran should have to go 100 miles or so to go to the hospital. They shouldn't be able to go to any hospital whatsoever. I'm a little speechless now.
It's okay.
I mean, when you speak about, any veteran should be able to go to any hospital that they choose, you're saying that they should be able to have a card issued, and they can show that card at any place.
Exactly.
That they need to go, and they can get the health services that they need.
They should not be denied anywhere. They should be able to go to any doctor, any hospital, and have a card, as you say. I can just remember, like I said the other day, I went in to get a flu shot, and there that gentleman was trying to get his prescription drugs, and it was $432. So again, with the prescription drugs, we got to get a handle on that. Each year, I own my own business. I'm in the healthcare business. I have a home health agency, and every year around September, we have to do renewals for health insurance. And one of my employees, he and his wife and his daughter were getting the health insurance, and that premium was a little over $1,600 a month. And for anybody to pay $1,600 a month for health insurance, this is ridiculous.
Oh,
There's no reason for it. I just don't know how they can afford it.
Right. It's totally ridiculous if you ask
It
me.
is.
Yeah, well, there's some reasons that goes on. Tort reform is one of the things that needs to happen to fix it, and one of the other things that needs to happen to fix it is we need to fix how we pull prescription drugs in.
Right.
And where we can pull them in from, and maybe some better testing on them so we can get prescription drugs from places like Canada.
Correct.
I don't know if we want to go China right now.
No,
but
not right now.
Not right now. But I mean, there are some places and things we can do with that to adjust.
I agree. Well, the other thing too, if the United States government is giving any prescription or any pharmaceutical companies money, federal funds,
Right.
then those funds should be spent wisely in the sense of the elderly should have their prescriptions free. They have, they've worked in the system for years. They've put their money into it. They should be able to get that as coming back to them.
Sure. We start talking about price controlling prescription drugs. I don't know if we need to go quite that far.
Right.
There has to be something done with, we spent $650 million developing, let's say $1 billion developing this drug.
Mm-hmm.
The drug has been on the market for 10 years, and yet we're still charging insurance companies and people, $1,200 a bill.
Well, it's just like
that type of thing needs to end, because
Correct.
what they've done is they've made their money back on their research for the medication.
The research and development has ended.
Still want them to have a profit, because we're still a capitalist capitalist society, but that type of...
I agree with you.
I mean,
everybody deserves to make a profit. That is true.
Sure.
However, like you said, there's a time frame where it says, okay, 10 years, maybe that's a law and we need to put into place. Maybe that's something that I can do.
Sure.
Introduce that law because of healthcare reform. I like that idea.
Well, you're looking. I've always thought of the example of insulin for that.
Yes.
Because insulin's been around for 50 years.
It's been a long
50 or
time.
60 years.
Well, you saw what happened when the whoever had the patent on it, or whatever it was, he jacked up the prices so much that people couldn't afford it anymore. But then I guess the government got involved with that and really, I don't want to say slapped his hand, but basically slapped
his hand.
Absolutely.
I mean,
so
make your money, but if you've got a person that's basically living for, it can't live without the medication that they're getting, there has to be some sort of give and take for that. There has to be. I mean,
well, taking advantage of somebody's inability to pay for it, or that somebody who's definitely needing it, it comes back to them. It will come back to them. And when you take advantage of somebody, to me, in my opinion, God will make it even. So, but I'm a firm believer in what the Republican Party stands for. I have my concealed weapons. The story about, I don't know if y'all ever saw the movie Wolverines.
Yes.
With Patrick Swayze.
Yep. Red Dawn.
Yeah.
Red Dawn.
Right, Red Dawn. That's exactly right. And they were out in Midtown or mid country, and then they had all the they actually had it was Russia and Cuba invading the United States. They were parachuting in, and the kids, they gathered together, they grabbed their guns, they went home. They had guns in their trucks. They went home, got their guns, and went up in there. As long as we have the Second Amendment, the United States will never be invaded. You take our guns away, we will be invaded quickly. Because the reason they don't invade America is because the other, people that want to try to do it, Russia or Cuba or whomever else, reason they don't do it because they have no idea who has a gun and who does not.
That's right.
200 million.
So,
we all do.
We all do, exactly.
1 trillion rounds.
Exactly.
All
the
2
rounds.
guns behind every blade of grass.
Yeah.
Here is the thing that I say to people when they start talking about taking away our guns. First off, most of us are not going to let you take away our guns.
Right.
The government take away our guns, because we have a little bit of an understanding of what happens after that the governments take away guns.
Right.
I mean, anybody that studied history knows exactly what Hitler did with it.
Yeah.
And it was, and the quote was, to defeat a country, what do? You take away the citizens' guns.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Exactly.
But that's. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? And
I'm from Orange Park. I grew up in Jacksonville. I was born in Mississippi, Meridian, Mississippi. My dad is in the Navy, so I moved there when I was 6 months old. Grew up in Jacksonville. Right after high school, moved out to Orange Park. My parents moved out there, and I'm married. I have four children. 2 are out of college, and 2 are still in college. 54 years old, in good health. At least my wife feeds me.
We are.
Yeah.
So
I'm just, I got a good life. Although I was not in the military, my brother, he was in the Marines. He did 3 tours, 2 in Iraq and 1 in Afghanistan. His Humvee got blown up. He didn't sustain any injuries, but the PTSD from it all.
yeah.
And that's hard. My grandfather was in the Air Force, retired from the Air Force. He and my grandmother are buried at Arlington National Cemetery, right by the tomb of the unknown soldier.
Wow.
My dad is retired military. He retired from the Navy after 22 years. Now he is he's a chaplain He got his PhD in theology. You know, I'm a businessman. Like I said, I've had my own business since '94. Right after my son was born, I opened up my own business, consulting business. Then I got into, you know, I was doing home health at that time, and then I bought a company in 2000. So I've bought and sold companies, but I've been through the rigors of what it's like to be a businessman and the small business, and you're trying to grow your company, and you're hiring people, and then people are coming, and then and you can never fault somebody for bettering themselves. No. So when you put in all that time and energy to train somebody, and then probably a year later they go and better themselves. So you're grateful that they are doing it, because that's all you want.
It's like a bittersweet type deal.
Yes. Well, I always tell everybody that works for me, I said, listen, I don't have a glass ceiling.
Right.
You know, I will listen to anybody that comes to the table and say, hey, I got an idea. I like the ideas. I like that, because what it tells me is that they're thinking outside the box. I'm a troubleshooter. You bring me a problem, I hear the problem, and I'm going to try to fix it. And then, now sometimes when you go down that road, you're successful at fixing that problem, but there's other times when you go down that road and you fail. But you know what? You don't ever get anywhere if you don't try.
Right.
So I'd rather fail, but you learn from that mistake and you take it and you keep going with it.
That's right. You pick yourself back up, you dust off your britches, and you keep on moving forward.
Exactly.
Failure is just another way of showing the people that don't work.
Right.
Right. And it's one of the only ways you learn too.
Exactly.
If you try something and it doesn't work,
right,
you figure out other ways to get around it, so you can actually go back and fix your problems. If it's fixable, there's some things that nobody can fix.
Right. It does take a little bit of time, but when somebody comes to me and they bring me an idea, and it may not be exactly what I'm looking for, that's okay, because I tell them, I said, you know what, I love the idea. It's not what we're looking for, but I love the idea. But what that tells me is that person is actually thinking outside the box. They're trying to be a troubleshooter as well.
Right.
So, I coached there in Orange Park. I was the treasurer and president of OPAA, Orange Park Athletic Association. So I coached between there and St. John's Country Day for about 16 years. I coached baseball and football. And one of the things that I love kids. I mean, if I could coach all the time, it would be great, because I love the kids. And the kids are like sponges. They will learn just about anything that you teach them.
Right.
You just
good or bad.
Yeah, good or bad. But you have to teach them. And that's the thing about it. These kids today, they will absorb everything that you tell them. And you know what? You can be focused on one person. You say, oh man, this guy, he's got it, or whatever it is. But this kid over here, you didn't think, all of a sudden that light bulb goes off, and then you're going, wow. So you can never stop, and you never don't want to teach all the kids.
Right.
So, I in high school I took air conditioning and heating. In Jacksonville they had a West Side Skill Center and North Side Skill Center. And to me, those skills were there. I didn't go to either one of those skill centers, but they had a program like that there at my high school. Vocational Industrial Clubs of America. So I took air conditioning and heating because my baseball coach was in air conditioning and heating. And in my senior year, I took second place in the regionals. We had the competition over here at Santa Fe. And then went to state, came in third place in state. Now I was in the summertime, standing on a roof, and it was about 125 degrees outside, and I said, I don't think I want to do this, but that's okay. But I honestly believe that the skills, my brother, when he got out of the Marines, he ended up taking welding. So he's working out the base as a welder. Right. And I think that's great, because if I need something fixed, I go to my brother.
And he's making good money doing it.
He's making good money doing it.
He's making good money.
And you know what? Everybody can be successful at any kind of skill.
Sure.
And we need to bring that kind of skill centers back. Right. We need to have them in our high schools. Gives the kids an opportunity to find their niche.
Sure.
Because not everybody is made to be a welder or air conditioning or a plumber or mechanic.
And the thing about what you're saying is not everybody is cut out for college.
Right. Exactly.
I have an uncle who did exactly what he had an he still does. He has an air conditioning and electrical business in Leesburg. He makes really, really good money, and he's been doing it for a very, very long time. So you don't have to go to college to do that. Right?
No. Well, I actually had scholarship offers to Ohio State, Nebraska, Troy in Alabama, Embry-Riddle out in Arizona, FCCJ in Jacksonville when it was FCCJ.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get a full ride. It was only a partial ride. I ended up going to Santa Fe Community College. I went through their electrical apprenticeship program and Associated Builders and Contractors School all at the same time. And hey, I turned out good.
Yeah.
And, you know, and not every kid is meant to go to college. I mean, and that's one of the things that we have something that's really good in Bradford County is that we do have a vocational college, and they can take classes there, and they are trying to get a electrical program in and a HVAC program in there as well, as long as with their carpentry and their diesel mechanics. So they're trying to broaden, like you were saying, trying to broaden that field for, you know, for students to try different things out and see where they actually fit. So when they're graduating, they're not just graduating with a high school diploma, they're also graduating with a 2-year or 4-year certificate that's going to help them make more money than minimum wage. You know, and so it's a great opportunity. That,
you know, the skill center, you're talking about the vocational college, I think that's a great opportunity for veterans who are getting out of the service to be able to go to the skill center. I'm going to call them a skill center because that's what I grew up with. That they can go to the skill center and learn a trade. You know, they could work during the day what they need to do and then go to school at night or vice versa. You know, when I graduated high school, I moved to Tampa and I went to school down there for 2 years. I got my degree in computer technology. But I went to school at night. I worked during the day. I worked full time. I was an electrician's helper. You know, we built apartments, or they were building apartments, and I was running wire. You know, I was like an attic rat with air conditioning and things of that nature. But you know,
you was doing the hard stuff, the residential stuff.
Yeah, I did the
commercial and industrial.
So, you know, one of my friends, you know, they'd always ask me, said, well, what school did you go to? I said, I went to the School of Hard Knocks. I said, but I got a PhD degree in results.
So, sometimes that's what it takes.
Exactly.
Yeah. Sometimes that is what it takes.
Yep.
Well, Bill, can you tell us, while you're sitting in the kitchen having coffee with your wife, or what was that moment that you decided you were going to run for Congress? That first.
I remember that. To be quite honest, I woke up only because actually God told me.
There you go.
He said, you know what? I'm going to provide a way for you. He said, I want you to do this. So I kind of told my wife, because each morning I get up and I read my Bible, I have my devotions, and I pray for my family and friends. But that morning when I woke up, she was like, what's going on with you? And I said, I got to tell you something. She's like, what? Well, actually, I waited. I waited about a week because, you know, when you hear this, and you know, when God talks to you, you kind of doubt it at times. You're like, okay, am I thinking something going on here, or is this real? Right. And then after confirmations, you know, finally I told my wife, and she's like, okay, all right, well, that's good, yeah. But then after talking to other people and so forth, and her hearing me, and then seeing how enthusiastic I was about it, and the changes that I wanted to do, how I wanted to help people, because I'm in the healthcare field, and that's what you do. You help people. Right.
We're a hospice.
Okay. Yeah. Exactly. So she saw at that point that it was in my heart to do it, and she's, you know, behind me 100%.
That's great.
So,
that's very good.
Well, we appreciate having you on.
Absolutely.
And once again, introduce yourself and let people know that.
Yes. My name is Bill Engelbrecht, and I'm running for Congress, District 3. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to go grab another candidate, and I'll be right back.
Appreciate everything.
Absolutely. Hope I didn't fumble there. I kind of got a little, can you help me out there?
It's really strange when you start doing this, because it's not like talking to a live audience. You don't actually get the same feedback sometimes. It's really strange.
Yes.
You'll see us looking down at our phones if you watch the show because I'm trying to get the feedback from
All right.
audience. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank
Well,
you.
good luck,
See you
sir.
later.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to bring on another candidate here in just a second. Mitchell Gunner has gone away to pull up Ms. Cat, and she will be in here in just a few minutes. And she will be our third person on tonight for Ted Yoho's old congressional seat. Hope that this has been informative and you guys get a little bit better of a chance to know these people a little bit personally. Because what ends up happening with most of these people, when you see them on a ballot, you have no clue at all. I mean, at all about who they are, what they do, where they're from. We're doing this tonight to inform you, and we hope you're enjoying this.
Common sense.
Common sense.
Common sense.
Yes.
All right.
And the other ones.
I like our we modified. I like it.
Nice to meet you, Ms. Cat.
Okay.
I'm Byron Bagwell.
Hey, nice to meet you.
And I think you know
She already
David
knows.
Mitchell.
I kind of feel like I know you. Just a little bit.
Well, we're going to introduce our next candidate. I'm going to go ahead and let you tell everybody who you are and the reason why you're running for Congress.
Well, I appreciate that. So my name's Kat Kamak, and I am running to be your representative in Washington. And there's something in the way here. I think it's a Coke can. We're getting signals from behind the camera. But my name's Kat, and I'm running to be your representative in Washington for Florida's 3rd Congressional District. And I have been Congressman Yoho's deputy chief for the last 8 years. And so part of the reason why I'm running is to continue the great work that Congressman Yoho and our team has done over the last 8 years. But beyond that, I think we're still in the fight for the soul of our country. And so I think it's fair to say that as conservatives, we have the right principles, the right message. It's just time to send a little bit of a different messenger.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you explain where,
He's already cracking up at me.
I'm cracking up at you because I'm hearing Donald Trump in my head when you're saying this.
That's a good thing.
That is a very good thing, actually.
could you tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So my husband and I, we're proud to call Gainesville home. My husband, he's a Gainesville native. And together we founded the Grit Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization that exists to support local police and fire departments. I have a master's from the United States Naval War College, which General James Mattis handed me my diploma in 2018. I attended as a civilian, so I'm very proud of that. And as Congressman Yoho's deputy chief, I had the opportunity to serve both here in the district, but also up in D.C. So we know how to navigate the system in and out of D.C.
Right.
So we're very proud of that.
What do you see are the challenges that we're faced with from the opposite side?
From the opposite side. Woo! I think from the opposite side, there are so many challenges. Honestly, there really are. I think the biggest one though is the fact that they see socialism as the answer.
Right.
And to me, when you say socialism is the answer, you accept failure. You say, I am not able to take care of myself and my family, and so therefore I need the state to take care of me. And so for me, that is the most un-American position that you can take. So fighting that narrative that we need socialism in our country is the number one thing that we have to push back on when it comes to the left.
Yeah, I mean, socialism looks really great on paper, but in reality, if they'll look down there toward Venezuela, look at Cuba, and look at all these other countries, what they have. They hardly have
Absolutely.
nothing. They have to wait in line for meals, instead of going to the grocery store and buying it themselves.
We've talked about this before. All you have to do is take a look at socialism's founder, Karl Marx,
Exactly.
and look at his life.
Absolutely.
Not a lot of people actually look at Karl Marx's life. Karl Marx was a freeloader who lived off of people all of his life.
Sounds like someone who's running for president.
No strong opinions here.
Yes, no, I don't like Bernie the Red either, but that's another story. But, guys, So you're right. Socialism is that particular aspect is probably the most dangerous to our freedoms and our liberties.
Absolutely. Well, in my generation, so I'm a millennial, and when you look at millennials and Gen Zs, they make up the lion's share of the voting bloc in this upcoming presidential election. And who do they have to look to that is of that age bracket? You have AOC, Ilhan Omar, you have these people that are pushing this down the throats of millennials and Gen Z. And that's why I say it's so important that we send a different messenger so that we can communicate the conservative platform and message to the next generation, because it's up to us. The next generation is here. We have to take responsibility and take our country back.
And I agree with you, because if we don't turn that table now, what people are we going to have in Congress in the next 15, 20 years, and where they're going to be geared toward? And I hate to say it right now, it's looking like they're going to be geared toward socialism.
Exactly.
And it's just going to set this country up for failure.
Exactly.
Self-destructs.
Exactly.
It self-destructs. In the words of Margaret Thatcher, socialism is great until you run out of other people's money.
That's right.
So it just does. It fails. It fails everywhere it's tried. And people can say all they want to about Norway and Sweden. It doesn't work that way. Matter of fact, if you ask their government, they'll tell you they're not socialist anymore because it failed.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Totally.
It was a terrible failure.
Yes.
And see, that's one thing, we always tear down history, and we don't teach it in school. And since we don't teach that stuff in school, they think socialism is a great thing. We don't talk about it anymore, about during World War I and World War II. The reason why the United States fought in those wars was to protect our sovereignty, but also protect ourselves from socialism or what's the other word I'm looking for?
Marxism?
Right.
Communism?
Communism. Exactly, yes, communism.
We have literally fought 4 wars over socialism. Literally. Because, believe it or not, you can label Hitler a Nazi, but Hitler really was a socialist if you look at his policies. If you look at what we did in Korea, what we did in Vietnam, it was to stop the spread of communism and socialism. And now we have people in office that want to spread that here. We need strong people that will stop this. We really do, because it's not the way this country was founded. It's not what gave us our freedoms.
That's right.
There's a reason they want to take away. They've basically taken away the word God in the Democrat Party, because that's quote unquote the opiate of the masses, and it just goes on down the line with the checks that they do to start. They're educating our children in colleges.
Absolutely.
You end up with professors.
It's an indoctrination.
It really is.
That happens on college campuses. I know for me personally, when I was in college, I had a professor. It was my Latin American politics professor, and she not only tried to fail me, but she went to the dean of the department and asked if I could get kicked out of the school, because I had pushed back when she told me that white Republican men were the sole reason for the world's conflicts in the last 100 years. And I raised my hand and I offered a counter opinion and questioned.
Right.
And for someone who stands up for quote unquote tolerance, they're not very tolerant of any diversity of thought or differing opinions. And so for me, in this campaign, we call ourselves a constitutional conservative, because a constitutional conservative will protect not only your First Amendment, but your Second Amendment, which, by the way, your Second Amendment protects the First.
That's correct.
Because what did Hitler do? He got rid of the guns.
That's the first thing he did.
He took the guns.
First thing he did.
And you look at what's happening with the 10th Amendment, states' rights. You get a very, very big, bloated, overburdensome federal government, and they push these mandates down the state and municipalities and counties' throats. Half the time they're unfunded mandates. So,
right.
Well, they've had a problem with the 10th Amendment, the actual abuse of the 10th Amendment for over 100 years now. And that all started around Lewis, is where it all started. But we have a problem with teaching history.
Well, and Wilson had a great essay. It was called Democracy and Socialism, and he marries them together. And he talks about the needs of the state and why society should serve to the government. And it wasn't about the individual, it was about society as a whole. And it stripped individual rights. So when we talk about life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, that is a true conservative message. But what socialism does is it turns it on its head, and you become a servant to the state.
That's Lord of the state.
Exactly.
Exactly it.
Exactly.
So, Kat,
we could probably
Yes, sir.
talk about this for the rest of the night.
Oh, yeah, we could.
Truly
We could.
enjoy
Yeah.
We could even get into some.
with all the issues
Yes.
that you would be facing, is there one that stands out?
Yes. And it's probably the least sexy issue that people talk about, but it is the number one threat to our national security. And as someone who has studied national security, got my master's in it, and I've worked in D.C. and here in the district for the last 8 years, the thing that people don't realize is that our national debt is the number one threat to our national security. It is 100% eating us alive. And no one realizes what $23 trillion in debt does to us. The burden of debt on our children's backs. Over $65,000 for every man, woman, and child in the United States. And people don't realize that there will be a reckoning. You can't just spend without any consequence.
Right.
And so we have a solution. We have endorsed the pennies plan. And if you cut 1 or 2 pennies out of every federal dollar, you can balance the budget in 5 years.
5 years.
Get rid of the deficit while maintaining a 14.68% growth rate. And it's just common sense. We have so much waste and fraud in the federal government. We have to deal with our debt before it deals with us.
Well, and a lot of that, I guess, does that come off to fund grants for crazy stuff, that I hear about? Is that where
Yeah.
The bridges to nowhere and the exercising of shrimp.
Yes, that kind of stupidity.
They have studied the effect of nicotine on sea bass and all kinds of crazy programs that
Right.
really have no bearing on our national security, which I think it just comes down to getting back to the basics. What are the fundamentals that the federal government is tasked with? National security, right?
Right.
And we have to hit those things. And I think we have to have an adult conversation about our mandatory spending. Only 32% of our entire budget is discretionary, and that really makes up the whole of what we know as government.
Right.
But then the rest, the Social Security, the Medicare, the Medicaid, and the 88 million that goes to the wild horses out west, those are all on autopilot. We never ever see those. And if we, heaven forbid, have some terrible issue with the economy that jacks our interest rates up, the interest on our debt is going to consume half of our discretionary spending, and the other half is going to be defense. So we really do have serious problems that we have to have this issue.
Now, talking about national security, we got, border wall's been a topic for a while, but I had a friend, and she's a Democrat, and she goes, well, I think it's wrong that these adults are separated from their children out there in Arizona. I says, they broke the law. She's like, yeah, but I don't think they should be separated. I said, if I go into a store and I steal money out of that store, I go to jail and I get separated from what? My children. So it is the same basic thing. So if you're going to let them see their kids like that, why don't we?
I think one of the appropriate responses to that, fine, we won't separate them, we'll just send them right back over the border.
Or my follow-up would have been, did you ask her if she felt this outraged when Obama was doing it?
Right.
And he's the one that started
that's
it,
a good
by the way.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I've got a question for you. Have you ever heard of the fair tax?
I actually am a big supporter of the fair tax.
And that's something that you were talking about, the actual deficit that we
Yes.
have that would also help. Now you're going to run headlong into a brick wall over the fair tax because what it does is it replaces the income tax completely. The federal income tax would be gone, and what they do is they use a consumption tax in its place. It is the most studied piece of tax legislation ever, and it would work.
It would.
So,
Well, and what's interesting is that it gets rid of all of the embedded taxes. So payroll taxes go away. It's revenue neutral, And he's laughing.
I love it. I love it. I love it. The first time I started hearing somebody talk about the fair tax, it was years ago when I was in college, and I was listening to Neil Bortz on the radio. He's one of the people who co-wrote the bill.
That's right.
And I can never remember the senator. Is senator? Or it was senator or congressman that wrote it. I think it was a senator.
I'm not sure.
But they actually have put this bill on the floor multiple times. Nobody will pass it because what it also does is it strips people's power away from them in D.C. That's part of the reason that it's not there. I always like to ask that question, and I forgot to ask it while I go to the other two candidates. But it's a great piece of legislation. It really is.
Well, it's very common sense, and it really comes down to a consumption tax. If you live a lifestyle that is very luxurious and you buy cars and fancy clothes and all these things, then you pay taxes accordingly. But if you live a very modest lifestyle, then you pay those taxes according to your lifestyle. You're not penalized for being successful. You're not penalized for living the American dream.
Exactly.
And so I think that's important. It also maintains certain deductibles and allowances based on your dependents. So
yes, it does.
Yes.
And for food products too. There's all sort of things. There's all sort of things the fair tax does. But I think the most important thing that it would do is it would take the argument away about the rich don't pay their fair share of taxes, because everybody would pay their fair share of taxes for everything that they bought.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I figured I would do it.
Well, I appreciate the question. I appreciate the question. You guys must be freezing your tails off because you are.
It's a little chilly.
It's a little bit chilly.
I'm from Colorado, so I kind of like the cold.
Well, if my hands get cold and my feet get cold, I'm done. But I'm pretty good right now.
Good deal. Well, I appreciate you guys letting me join you for a few minutes.
Oh, it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much for coming on. Let everybody know who you are and what you're running for, and we appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. And if anybody wants to learn more, catforcongress.com.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty.
All right, gentlemen.
It's just a little chilly, sir.
And oh goodness, look at who's coming up here. We have our own Sheriff, Mr. Gordon.
What's up, guys? How are you doing? Sit down, man. This is we don't like the weather. Wait 5 minutes, it'll change on us. You know what I'm saying? It's,
As long as
it'll
the wind
change
doesn't-
colder. I'm telling you.
Just as long as the wind doesn't start blowing any harder, we'll be
I'm
good.
telling you what. Just don't strike a fire right now, please, people. Please put the matches down. There's been some people. We have had more fire calls. People trying to burn stuff. I had a friend call me today. Said, "I got this pile of stuff. I'm fixing. I've been cleaning up. I'm burning." I said, "Do not. Do not burn when there's a wind right now and it's dry. We've really not had enough water. We've not had enough stuff. So it's we're really dealing with some situations. Still got people coming into the fair. It's
Your wife.
yeah, the wife.
That would be why.
I guess my curfew just got extended, so I'm good. Not that I'm henpecked,
Take a
fellas,
seat,
but
sir.
I do have hen-hound
Take a
legs.
seat, sir.
You got it. It's look, reader. Common sense, huh?
Not such a common subject anymore these days.
And I'm an avid reader.
So it's
Love a good book. Of course, you know, it's the free time I get anymore, I'm kind of big into the audiobooks.
the audiobooks.
I've really started to listen to old loud rock and roll music that I grew up with. You know, the AC/DC, Def Leppard. Matter of fact, they're coming to Jacksonville.
Yes, they are.
I had that all day long in the
I'm
shop.
trying to figure out how I can work that in somehow.
Poison and Motley Crue
and Joan Jett.
and Joan Jett.
Joan Jett and
and
the Blackhearts, man. That was I
and
don't
it's
just the Blackhearts anymore, but
It's actually a real good thing because you can buy a 6-pack tickets for I think $99, and you get 4 tickets and 2 service members get tickets. I think
Really?
that's how it works.
that's cheaper than getting in the county fair, guys.
Is that to Ticketmaster? Do you know if that's the Ticketmaster?
I'll have to double check.
We'll leave it on
Because-
Mitchell to find it out for us
find
and
it out.
hook
Yeah,
some friends
because
up.
I was about to say that would be an important thing to know, because if they're $99 and they're giving veterans or
That's a
service
good deal.
members,
And I think some of the individual seats are $29 to $35, which is not bad.
That's as good as it gets to see. Of course, we say that now. Our generation loves it.
yeah.
Of course, I guess they got plenty of handicap spots, for our
Right.
age. But the younger group, you mentioned that to my son, he's like, who? What? You know, I get it, but to me, we can get to go and enjoy it now.
That's right.
You know, I mean, as kids going, I remember going to Kiss was one of my favorite concerts.
And we're too old for a mosh pit.
Yeah, we're not gonna do a mosh pit. If they do it now, I fell down the stairs. You know what I'm saying?
We're not talking
But
about
y'all,
Metallica.
but it's good that some of that's coming back around. We're here at the county fair. It's been a great success. The new building is phenomenal.
Yes, it is.
Kudos. You know, it's when you have, there's resistance to everything we do. As a sheriff, usually it's not the big things. It's usually the little things. It's personalities. But at the end of the day, Dale and them, it's really the staff. Man, that's a great facility in Bradford County.
Yes, it is.
And thanks to Senator Bradley and State Representative Bobby Payne getting appropriations and working things that brought back some money to a small rural county, and the kids in there that are getting help. You're teaching them a lesson of life, learning how to take care of animals, but not only taking care of, it's the feed, how you document it,
Right.
how you write a check out. The basics of life are being learned by these agricultural young ladies and young men through 4-H and FFA, which is close to me. The two things I did in FFA that I thought I'd never use. I did a lot of things in FFA. Thank God for Paul Hutchins and Mr. Alvarez and Mr. Westcott and some of them. But the two things that they got me involved in, I said I'll never need parliamentary procedure. And we went to state competition doing parliamentary procedure, and the other was public speaking.
And you're very involved with both of them now.
I didn't see that in my future at the time. You know, a little old country boy, poor boy. Mama drove a school bus for 40 years and raised 4 boys by herself. So we learn just like reading. Man, if you learn to read, you can do anything you want to do. You can be who you want to be. You can live your life through the excitement of a book. I wasn't a good reader. I remember from 2nd grade to 6th grade that I was that kid that got called out in class because I couldn't comprehend what I was reading. I spoke too fast. I know it's hard for y'all to believe, but I was a fast talker. I didn't comprehend. I could read, but I didn't comprehend. My writing, which now people like, I had to write lots of reports before the computer come along. It tells us dating our age there. I can remember being at the police department sheriff's office. There was one computer in the whole place. Now you don't operate anything without a computer. Kind of deal, but I was that kid that had to get up until about the 6th grade. They said I'd completed and scored above my grade level to get out of that special reading class. And when you're in the 2nd to 6th grade, kids know when you get called out in class where you're going. So, but thank God for some teachers that led me. And then I wasn't a real good student in high school, and I give all my credit to being the sheriff. A lot of that. There's 2 ladies. One was my mother, because thank God for a mean mom. She was you realize that meanness was love when you get older and have your own kids.
Yes.
And the second was Miss Olivia Scott. She was the librarian.
Oh my goodness.
And I'd get put in there because my mother, as being a bus driver, wouldn't let us go home. Her and Miss Thomas, Gladys Thomas, those 2 ladies. I mean, I would go in there and it was, you're going to do what you're taught. I was scared of them. That's why we had to do the card file. So I'd do a card filing system, the writing, make sure my homework got done. Because my mom said, you're not suspending my son. You're not sending him home. He gets nothing out of that. No one punishes me. And she was a single parent. So, with 4 boys, and she said, I'm driving bus to work. I can't. It's not manageable. So then, I got stuck in the library. And I was scared to death, but they made me learn so much. But I realized it was out of love, and I'm who I am today because of those women that really, they seen something in me I didn't see in myself.
Nobody went in that library and caused a problem, did they?
No, sir. I promise you that. They might go somewhere else, but it wasn't going to be there.
No.
And I think that's what's missing in our society is that tough love.
It is. I mean,
We don't have that tough love no more. We have a bunch of parents that they don't care. They're like us.
Well, they depend on the school. They want the
kids
school
go
to be
school,
the doctor, lawyer, parenting, and then when you don't do it the way they think, then they want to criticize. But where were you at?
Right.
Let me tell you, you can talk about public school, and I'm a product of public school. Got a college degree. I'm fortunate. My brothers and I, we're blessed. School, I don't care where you send your kid to school, whether it's private school, you can afford the best, or it's public school. School is as good as you as the parent get involved.
That's right.
Education
starts at home.
You cannot depend on the teacher to be everything for your child. And the kids that excel in the public school system are the children who have their parents involved, not the chronic complaining parent. The best thing we've done with safe schools is one is we've got our campuses safe. When I was one of the county's, I always say I was the county's first school resource deputy.
I think you were. Actually.
Well, they hired a guy first, but on the first day, he was breaking up a fight, slipped and broke his tailbone. Oh. And at that time, back in the 80s, I was the youngest deputy sheriff. And nobody, guess what? I was the low man on totem pole. The sheriff said, you're going to the high school. I said, well, I don't want to be no kitty cop. I'm not going to, I'm a cop. You know, I'm a man. I'm better putting bad guys in jail. Gordon, I'm telling you.
I'm going to date myself. I remember what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That I just.
And the headlines in our Bradford County Telegraph said deputy sheriff needed at high school. If you remember, that was used during a political campaign that the then superintendent lost their job.
Yeah.
And then the next superintendent comes along and puts that nice fence. Didn't put an ugly fence around the high school. But remember, parking was coming off 301.
That's right.
So they put the fence around. Oh, they're trying to make it look like a prison. And that was used in the campaign. Now, fast forward, the fence isn't high enough. We don't have enough fence, and where's my deputy?
Yeah.
And we don't have resource deputies anymore. We have school protection deputies. They're not there to be a resource. They're there to provide protection to the students on the school campus. That's what they're there for. You know, so it's times have changed. In my 33, I've completed 33 years. I'm now working on 34 years right here in Bradford County. I just learned one thing. It's that whether you like somebody, don't like somebody, doesn't matter. When you're called to serve, you serve. And there's days you go, what am I thinking? There's days when it's been dangerous. There's been days I've been hurt. There's people I've seen I love hurt, placed in danger, or become victims of crime. It's personal. See, we're fortunate to live in Bradford County. We're big enough to serve, but we're still small enough to care. And that gives us a little bit of leverage, common sense things that you see in bigger agencies. I just had somebody stop me tonight telling me about an incident in Neighborhood County. I said, they're just big. That's the way it has to be done. When you're dealing with 500 deputies, they have to live by these policies and procedures. Here we have policies and procedures, but we still allow the men and women that serve you discretion. And one deputy may call it a little different. We're not robots.
Right.
We're not robots, and that makes us a little bit different. Where the bigger the agency, they have to take some of that discretion away because it has to be managed. Here we're still small enough we can do that. You know, the way we treat you today is going to directly affect us tomorrow. Hence, 90% of the people in the Bradford County Jail aren't bad people. They've made bad decisions.
Right.
You know, so when I go in there, how I treat those people directly affect. If you're our train, that's what made America. You know, it tracks across America. But when we see that and we hear, I'm going to get out, and I'm living amongst those individuals within my jail. Sure. Those are the same people that we work side by side. I just had a house built recently, and those are the same people working on my house. There's no disrespect. You treat them like human beings. Now, there are some evil people. And in society, we have to have rules. We have to have laws. Like in school, you don't run in the hallway. There's a reason for that. There's a reason you don't smoke in the bathroom. I was back then. I wasn't much on the smoking, but you know, kind of deal. But through education, because of the country we are, we've learned the dangers, and we started putting those dangers out there. We have a lot of freedoms, but people forget about with freedoms come responsibility.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the biggest, where we're lacking the most, is in that gap, is understanding that those, with freedoms come responsibility. And that's the reason we've got our country so divided. It's not that we put walls up to protect us from the people from other countries, but it's to protect those inside our country first. And say, you know what, we take care of ourselves, then come on, brother, come be part of us. America's a melting pot, but you gotta, if you don't, that's an invasion.
Well, and here's the thing about what you're talking about. When somebody illegally enters the United States,
Illegally
enters the United States, are they respecting our laws?
No, they just broke when they come across.
Okay, so are they going to be productive members of society if they're breaking our laws to enter this country?
Absolutely not.
So that's the
if they want to do it,
the key to it.
Come through the port of entry. There's plenty of ports to come across where you can come safely. We're not worried about you being taken advantage of by the coyotes that bring you across. Coyotes being the illegal people that smuggle you across. If you come through our ports of entry, and we got a lot of them, by the way. You come through there, you'll be treated the same way, but you're treated differently than when you try to sneak across, or you're paying somebody to bring you across because either you're bringing something you shouldn't, or you're coming across and you're trying to bend and break all the laws to get here. Come the right way. You're still going to be, and you'll be treated at a much better rate and processed.
Sure. Well, and that's like a while ago we was talking to Kat, and when we was talking about the border wall, and those getting arrested, they're separating the kids from their parents. And I had a friend of mine. She's a Democrat. She's like, I don't think that's right. I don't think they should separate those kids from their parents. I said, well, if I go down there and rob the Jiffy store, guess what? I'm going to go to jail and I'm going to be separated from the kids.
Going to separate you from your kids. Y'all, that is a political weapon. They've weaponized our politics. And here, let's go back. Clinton is saying the same things as Obama said, that George Bush said, that Trump is saying. They've all said the same thing. Sure. But each side weaponizes it. It becomes a political tool to get what one side done. And I'm tired of the separation. We need to elect people that go up there and work across party lines that stands for the values we believe in. We got more in common than we got apart. Yes, some of my best friends are very liberal. But at the end of the day, we still care about the same thing. We care about our kids. We made a difference on the philosophy. But that's what it is when you get in Washington or Tallahassee. Of course, my mom always said you go to the same place for lying as you do stealing, and I'm starting to realize she meant Washington, D.C. I get it. They're all controlled by political interests. Sure. It's bad when you go to lobby for something, a cause. I can look the individual up and see where their money's coming from and say, we might not even go talk to them. Because the special interest is, and you go like, I know where their vote's going to be, so why talk to them? You try to find the people that are balanced in the middle. We understand it takes money to get there. It's a shame that it takes that he's, wait a minute, isn't Trump like the youngest guy in the race now?
Yes.
For president?
Yes.
He become the youngest guy, so.
Yes, that's correct. Bernie Sanders.
And the party of supposable inclusions? Well, got a couple old white men running it? I don't figure it out. I just haven't got it.
Not only that, the one woman that's still trying to win that position, they took her off the debate. They changed the rules
to keep her off the debate.
But
that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
So they say. I don't get that. I'm just an old, simple Bradford County boy. I'm not real complicated. I'm just not. But you look at that and you go, well, wait a minute. They talk about the party. So anybody of any color, they've eliminated.
That's right.
And now the woman, they've changed the rules to keep the one woman left out of the debate. Why are they scared? I mean, come on, let the people decide.
The whole party, they have lost. They have lost their face. They don't know what they stand for anymore.
They don't.
They have no clue. They're fighting amongst each other like cats and dogs, and I just sit back and watch the show.
But it makes me sick because they're supposed to be representing people.
Us.
Right.
Us, like me. Whether you love me, don't like me, when I get called, that should never have a factor in how you get served.
Right.
Now, I can tell you in my business, the customer is not always right. Unfortunately, people go to jail because we have laws and rules and those type of things. And when you serve, it's different helping. You and I help our neighbor, we help our person at church. It makes us feel good. When you're serving, a lot of times it doesn't feel so good. But you have a responsibility, because I took an oath. Doesn't matter who you are, what religion you are, what color you are, what faith you are. When you call and you're in that wreck, you're in that fight, somebody's breaking in your house, I have a responsibility to treat everybody exactly as I treat my mother. And when you do that, you can put your head in your pillow at night, lay down, say your prayer, your blessings, and go to sleep and sleep easy. Right. And that's what I've had to learn to do over the years of being the sheriff. And nobody's going to love it more than I do. I mean, they may love it as much as I do. But y'all, this is home. When I walk in the fair, I got to go in Midway last night for the first time with the grandkids. Made one round, took me 4 hours, and we left. Because that's as far as I've got there in the arena, because those are the people, I love it. Yeah. I love it, man. You can't get no better. When I hear other sheriffs talk, I'm like, I'm going back to Bradford County. I've got the best sheriff's office job in the state and probably the country because you love what you do. I'm the guy that goes home. The other night I left here at 11:30 and then woke up, and the next thing I know, I'm getting called out for a barricaded subject. On a federal warrant, a guy's barricaded himself in a house. It's about the time I get home at 5 o'clock in the morning, there's a fire that goes off. That I have to be at work. I had some things that already scheduled. Try to go home at lunch and get a power nap and come back to the fair. That's right. And you can fuss, but I wouldn't rather be doing anything else.
Right.
So it's what I do. It's what I love.
Well, when you love something, it's not a job.
It's not.
Well, and I know y'all go out there to some of these scenes when y'all do warrants and stuff, and you're on video, and they got that particular person out there with you. You said to one of them, do you need help? What do you need?
You want to break the cycle.
And I love that about you, because you want to help that person. And sometimes jail time does help that person.
It's sometimes like that individual you're talking about, I know which case you're talking about, goes, oh, you're shaming. Well, they've already been to jail numerous times. They've been to prison.
Right.
We put that person in jail since then. You know, since that case, we've tried everything. And people say, oh, everybody's got their understanding of it, but they follow us to see what we can arrest next. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like Live PD. I had somebody say, oh my gosh, Live PD's gone. You know, and it's a hodgepodge. It's about 90%. I get about 9 people. Oh, when's it coming back? I've spoken to a couple senior groups and they love it.
Love it. Yeah.
They love it. There's some other people, because we're small, we know each other in regards to it. So you have some people don't think, oh, that shows the bad parts. Well, look, no matter what agency you're showing, everybody's got some of it. And then I had somebody say, well, it's because there's not enough crime in Bradford County. I said, well, hallelujah.
That's a good thing.
That's a hallelujah. And it is, but we're so rated. They've asked to come back. I said, no, we've got our fun, but it's time to go. And they said, well, can we come back at a future date? I said, we'll see. People say, well, you need to take your priority. Our priority order's never been, because everything our officers and deputies do is recorded anyway. In high definition video, when you have an encounter with a deputy, you're being recorded. We have it. That's public record. People will subpoena it. We've been on PD cam, live PD, undercover things, warrants. They're just running along, capturing what we capture already. Right. It doesn't affect the decisions that we make.
Right.
As you can see, it's captured live, so it doesn't affect. But people get to see. You see, I haven't been on it because I didn't want to take it. It's about the men and women that do the work. It's to showcase, and people say, oh, God, that's pretty boring in Bradford County. Let's keep it boring.
That's right.
I'm okay with boring.
That's a
You
good
know, let
point.
people live. They go somewhere and have fun and come back to Bradford County. You know, that's where it's better than Bradford.
We don't want the troubles that Jacksonville has here.
I hope we never get that.
Or Gainesville. Gainesville's getting pretty bad.
It's y'all crime. We're growing. We're growing at the rate. I just left a meeting here a few weeks ago. They're telling us that Florida is now growing at the rate of 900 plus. Now we lose people. People die. We have a lot of seniors. That being said, we're still growing at the rate of 900 people a day. Bradford County's filling up. I mean, it's coming. You can't stop. Our lifestyle, not probably in my lifetime. I'm going to see some of the effects, and probably we won't. But our kids and our grandkids are going to feel it. Oh yeah. We've seen it in our lifetime, that businesses have popped up, things that have come and gone. They're going to see things that we'd have never dreamed would ever be. I never thought I'd see an interstate. I worked most of my life and never worried about running radar on a highway. 301's a big deal. Now you get run over. Go out there, you get run over. You know, now they're high-speed wrecks.
At one point in time, 301 was 2 lane.
That's right.
I don't remember that.
Well, it was parked. Yeah, it was parked. You parked right on park from the
side
school.
of the road
We used to drive up in the front grass and park and go in the front office. I mean,
we was able to hold parades on 301.
We're back.
Yes, we did. Well, we're back now.
And we're back. After this last year, we put the parade back on 301. Y'all, this is our home. We're like family. You know, I see social media and I follow it. And people tag me about every day with something. You know, at the end of the day, we're family, and we're like any family. We might fuss amongst ourselves, but you let somebody come in and pick on Bradford County, and we're that family. Hey, wait a minute, we can do it.
Watch
You don't
out.
do it. But what's unique about Bradford, whether you're born here, raised here, most of us are like that adopted family. You come in, and it doesn't take you but a little while. We bring you into that huddle and say what, and people say, you know what, I love living here, and they don't leave. But, you know, it's like me, and most of my friends, I can't wait to leave. I graduate school. Well, guess what? I've seen some that have gone and they've worked jobs, and now I'm at the age they're retiring, and they're moving back home. They couldn't wait to get back home, you know, and can't wait to leave, and then most never do. And, you know, I was right in there. I didn't know what my future held, and mine was God's fate. And fate has its way with you sometimes. It's not what I seen. It wasn't what I envisioned. You know, I picture myself as a fighter pilot. You know, wanted to go up. I was going to fly planes. And
Watching Top Gun.
No, I was going to be, you know, or I was going to be. I thought I was good in sports. That didn't work out either. You know, you can't. Fate is your fate, and your journey is what it is. And I don't care what God deals you or whoever your faith is in. Stay positive. Stay positive, because you're there for a reason. This is a journey, a cycle that we all go through. If you make the best of it, it's never really a job. And mine is, I love people, and I love meeting people. If I travel, you know, I've been as far north as Raleigh, far south as Waldo. I've seen most of the world, at least the important parts. And I just
that's
make
good.
the best. I don't like negativity.
No.
Well, and you know, I think we're going to get a lot of positive stuff happen in the next 5 years with the bypass. We're going to see more businesses pop up.
And hopefully we'll have some places that will come in here. They'll put a couple of hundred people to work.
We're in that lull. We're in that lull.
Right.
And, you know, right now the hospital thing's really affecting people. I went there the other day because it affects us, our inmate medical. Right. Worry about inmate medical, so our contracts. And I'm learning that now. We're kind of in this tizzy of what we do. And you know, when I walked in there, it was kind of like walking into the funeral home. I mean, those are the people you love.
Right.
We work together, and maybe they get a job, but it's the uncertainty. Man, nobody likes not knowing what's going to happen. It's like the storm brewing out there, and we're watching it on TV 2 weeks before it approaches. We don't know, and we panic. It's like the coronavirus, you know.
Wow.
And we just had somebody tested in Bradford County, came back negative out there on the spot live. But we keep informed. I mean, we're ramping up. I think it's everybody's ramping up in an abundance of caution. But here we are in a political cycle, so it's being weaponized. So don't panic.
We just had the deputy CDC chief actually say that the actual mortality rate of the coronavirus is between 0.1 and 1.
You stand a better chance of getting run over by a car crossing 301.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at this, and it's nowhere near as bad as the common flu.
Correct. And it's the basic procedures. The same stuff that kills the hand sanitizer, your alcohol. It's just being cautious, y'all. It's flu season. Wash your hands. It's common sense stuff, you know. And it like anything else, it affects those that have usually already got a health problem.
That's right.
That's
It's just like flu A and flu B will do.
Oh, absolutely, and they'll come up with a vaccine next year. There'll be something.
SARS, MARS, Zika, the swine flu.
Swine flu, yeah.
That was something else. Yeah, that went back. Everybody went into panic mode. How'd that work out?
As far as I know, there wasn't a case that originated in the United States. In the United States,
you're correct.
So I mean, the panic level is way too much for what this is.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yes.
They're saying that people are getting this, feeling a little bit sick, staying at home for a day or two, feeling better, and then going back to work.
A lot of people's had it over it and didn't even know they had it.
Didn't know they had it. Didn't even go to the doctor.
Just thought they had a real bad cold or just a common
You
flu.
got it.
Why didn't you just go ahead and say you staying until the fair closes?
That's it. You got it. So it's you know, so that's the kind of thing we're doing. You know that, and I get the education out there, but it's like any catastrophe, somebody's always going to take advantage of it. Politicize it. Now it's become a political tool for both sides. So one's going to blame the other, and the people are the ones that pay the toll. Here again, it's back on the people. And some people take it. Everybody reacts. Everybody reacts. So.
Yeah, I got to go grab Jennifer Bradley. She's still here.
Go ahead.
Try to get her
Go
on
get
real
Miss
quick.
Jennifer. She's a great lady. Guys,
good seeing you.
All right, brother. Hey,
Take care of yourself.
You got to get in there with your family.
hey. Remember this: your sheriff won't sleep, so you can.
Hey, he wants to get on that zipper and ride it a couple times.
Oh!
Down here to me.
Thank you, sir.
No, appreciate y'all.
Thank you, Gordon.
Appreciate y'all.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will be back with one more candidate here, and Mitchell went in to grab her. As always, Gordon Smith is a delight to have on the show. He's our sheriff here in Bradford County. It's always very informative, and there's something about listening to Gordon Smith talk. It's always loose. He always comes off as he's talking to you like a friend, and his policies really have been good for this county. So when you go out and vote, remember Gordon too, because he's running too. We didn't ask him to say who he was and what he was running for, because most of Bradford County knows Gordon Smith, has known Gordon Smith forever. So
Born and raised here.
Born and raised here.
Well,
can't believe that incident he was talking about when he first became the officer at the high school. It just, when he said that, I was like, I don't remember that. I thought you were the first, and then all of a sudden it hit me. I think I was actually at the school when that happened. I think I was at the high school when that actually happened. So it's been a long, strange trip in this county, but it's been a good one.
So we've had
people.
4 candidates on tonight.
We've had 4 candidates. We've had 3 congressional candidates, and we've had the local sheriff candidate for sheriff.
Mitchell's heading in to pick
up another candidate.
Yeah.
And he should be out here in any second.
and we'll go on and we'll ask them some more questions, and then after this candidate's over, we'll probably call it a night. It's a little bit chilly, and the wind is blowing really hard out here, and we freeze, guys. So, I'd like to talk a little bit about some things that are going on. We've just talked about, and we had Gordon Smith on. We talked about the coronavirus, and that was one of the things I was going to focus on tonight. And I actually got to talk to the sheriff about it, and he knew about this too. Guys, it's basically somewhere between 1 and 0.1% fatal. It is actually only in people that are having health problems to begin with that it's affecting this way, and there are so many cases of it that they don't even know these people have it because they're sick for a day or two, just like we were talking about. They get over it and they go on about their lives, and they have no clue that they had this disease or virus. It's a virus is really what it is. We've had others in the past that were a lot more deadly. So just keep on washing your hands, keep on using hand sanitizers. If you feel sick, cough into your sleeve, sneeze into your sleeve. And the most important thing is if you deal with the community in any way, and don't go to work. And that's pretty much everybody, unless you sit in an office somewhere and you're the only one that's there. Just stay at home if you're sick. That will stop the spread of not only that, but it'll stop the spread of the flu, things like the flu too. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that tonight. I also wanted to talk a little bit about the candidates that are left for the presidential nomination for the Democrat side. There's 3 candidates left. There's Tulsi Gabbard, who is not going to be allowed on the debate stage at their next debate. There is Joe Biden, and there is Bernie Sanders. And like Gordon was saying, there's basically the 2 lead candidates are actually older than Donald Trump. So one's an avowed socialist, calling himself a Democrat socialist. His policies are terrible, but go vote. It doesn't matter whether you are actually a Democrat or Republican. There are still candidates out there, and I misspoke the other night. I'm going to apologize for that again. There are actual candidates out there that are running against Donald Trump. So if you like the job the president's done, go vote for him. If you think he hasn't done a good enough job and you're a Republican, find out about the other candidates and vote for them. We had talked a little bit also about some things that were going on at the local level. We know we were talking about the closure of the hospital and how the only thing that's going to be there is an emergency room. And Gordon touched on that a little bit too. Mitchell, do you have anything else on that? On the hospital? You know anything else that's going on with the hospital?
I've actually talked to a few people that work there, and they're kind of flip-flopping back a little bit, back and forth, what services they're going to keep and what services that they're not. So I guess they're just trying to work out those logistics. It's just a really sad thing because these people are like on.
Had in mind tonight was a little bit more of the people talking, so to be honest with you, I haven't prepared a whole lot tonight to go in depth of any political issue that I know of. What do the comments look like? I haven't even looked at the comments tonight at all. Do you have anything?
I'm trying to look through it right now. I know we got one more candidate that we're going to put on. I tried to get a hold of Miss Bradley, and I could not find her. So we're actually going to run in there, and we're going to grab Miss Lisa Rodgers.
Okay.
And we'll get her on for a few minutes, and then we can close the show down.
That sounds like a plan. Guys, please go out and vote. and vote in your local, state, and your federal. I know I've said this over and over and over again, but we're one of the very few countries who, when you go vote, it really still does matter. You may think you're only one, but sometimes that one vote counts a lot more than you think. Have you? Did you? Do we have any local sports today? Did you know what went on? I think
we were just concentrating mostly on the fair and some of the candidates that are running for office. Right. Didn't prepare a whole lot what's going on with sports. I guess we'll touch base on that on Tuesday night.
Tuesday nights. I do know one thing. That the girls softball team won their game 17-2.
Okay.
And I'm trying to remember where that was. I don't remember exactly where that was. So the Bradford County girls softball team really went out and performed this week. So, definitely a good thing.
Someone says they wanted to hear a famous quote.
A famous quote.
There you go. There's one for you, Byron.
A famous quote. Oh, goodness. You want to hear a famous quote, and all I'm hearing is the one that I always repeat over and over and over again. I'm thinking about the candidates that we've talked to tonight, and to be honest, I'm stumbling and bumbling around. Give me just 1 second, and I'll give you one. Well, I thought I was going to give you one. That's not it either. Sorry, guys. We're waiting now. Now we're waiting on Mitchell and Miss Alvarez to come in. They should be here in just a few minutes. Going live with us here on the spot. Here at Bradford County Fair. It would be a very beautiful night if it wasn't about 40 degrees out here and the wind was
cold
blowing.
out here tonight.
It really is very cold out here tonight.
I'm sorry if the camera's shaking.
That's I normally don't wear a hoodie anywhere, but it's cold enough out here tonight to do that. The moon behind the flag is great. You know, I miss when we don't get to this the prayer and the pledge. Even though I do the pledge every morning, if you're my friend, you know this. I miss it. I miss it. Famous quote: "I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all." There we go. That one will work tonight for a quote. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm wondering if Mitchell is actually having a problem now.
You might want to.
Yeah, guys, I think we're going to sign off for this evening. If Miss Alvarez actually is able to come out, we might come back on for a few minutes and give her time also. I want to say goodnight for the whole entire crew, Dave, Mitchell, and Mr. MIA tonight, David Rodgers, and the rest of the crew. Guys, y'all have a very good night, and we will see you on Tuesday.